I sold my motorcycle, the one thing I truly loved, to buy her dream phone. A month later, she claimed it was broken, but I found her new one glowing in another man's car. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Jacob Miller, and I'm 32 years old. This is the story of how I learned that love built on lies eventually exposes itself, one cracked screen and one secret phone at a time. When Emily and I met, it felt like something straight out of a movie. She was wild, free-spirited, and full of energy, while I was the steady one, the guy who made plans, paid bills, and believed in forever. We fit perfectly, or at least I thought we did. I worked as an auto mechanic, and she was a part-time designer chasing dreams that seemed to change every month. I loved that about her, her creativity, her chaos, her ability to turn ordinary days into something special. I supported her in everything. I'd fix her car, pay her rent when she was short, even stay up late helping her finish her projects. She used to say, "You're my anchor, Jake. I don't know what I'd do without you." Those words meant everything to me. Our relationship felt solid, real. We laughed, fought, made up, and planned for the future like every other couple. So when her phone suddenly broke one night, right in the middle of a movie, I didn't think much of it. She looked frustrated, showing me the cracked screen like a child who dropped their favorite toy. "It won't even turn on," she said, her voice trembling. "All my work files are gone." I told her not to worry. I'd handle it. That's who I was, the man who fixed things. The next day, I sold my motorcycle, the one thing I'd saved for years to rebuild, and used the money to buy her the latest phone model. When I gave it to her, she cried and kissed me, whispering, "You're the best man I've ever known." That moment felt pure. Real love, I thought. I didn't realize it was just a scene in a story she'd already rewritten without me. In the following weeks, things seemed normal at first. She used the new phone constantly, taking pictures, laughing at videos, and texting her clients. But little by little, her warmth started fading. The good morning messages stopped. The phone she once couldn't put down suddenly became unreliable again. I thought she was just busy. I thought maybe I was overthinking. But sometimes love blinds you so completely that you mistake distance for peace and lies for loyalty. It was a rainy Thursday when she walked into the kitchen holding her phone like it had betrayed her. "It's dead again," she said, sighing dramatically. "Won't turn on, won't charge, nothing." I looked up from my coffee, confused. I had just bought it 3 weeks ago. "Already?" I asked. She nodded, her tone sharp. "I guess I'm just unlucky with phones." I took it from her and tried powering it on. The screen stayed black. The charger didn't help either. "Maybe it's a software issue," I said. "I'll take it to a repair shop." She shook her head quickly. No, don't bother. It's under warranty. I'll handle it myself." Something about the way she said it, fast, defensive, almost rehearsed, made me pause. "Are you sure?" I asked. She forced a smile. "Yes, Jake. It's just a phone. You don't need to fix everything." That line hit me harder than it should have. Fixing things was what I did. For her, for us. But I let it go. I didn't want to seem controlling. The next few days, she used an old phone, saying it barely worked. I offered to buy her a temporary replacement, but she refused. "It's fine," she said. "I don't need one all the time." That was strange. Emily was glued to her phone, always on social media, texting friends, or checking work emails. The sudden change felt off. Her behavior shifted too. She started leaving the house more often. Work meetings, errands, coffee with a friend. Every time she'd come back smiling, humming to herself like she was living in a world I didn't belong to anymore. I tried asking how her day went, but she'd shrug it off. "Busy?" she'd say. "Just tired." One night, I walked into the living room and caught her with her laptop open. When she saw me, she slammed it shut instantly. "What are you hiding?" I asked, half joking. She laughed too loudly. "Don't be paranoid, Jake. I was just watching something stupid." Then she kissed my cheek and walked off. But the way she avoided my eyes told me everything I needed to know. She was lying. Still, I told myself it was nothing. Love makes you give too many chances. It blinds you to patterns you'd recognize instantly in anyone else. I kept waiting for things to go back to normal. They didn't. A week later, she came home late, claiming her boss needed her to stay overtime. She smelled like a different cologne, not mine. When I asked about it, she laughed it off. Probably just perfume samples from work. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my gut screaming what my heart refused to believe. Something was wrong, and whatever it was, it had started the moment that broken phone disappeared from her hands. Over the next few days, her lies began to sound like clockwork, perfectly timed, perfectly delivered, but hollow. She'd laugh a little too loud when I asked questions and answer with details that didn't fit together. Every word felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in front of a mirror before coming home. I noticed how she always kept her old phone face down. It wasn't broken like she claimed. It lit up sometimes when she thought I wasn't looking. Once I caught her slipping it into her purse before stepping outside. When I asked who she was texting, she smiled. "Just work," she said, waving her hand dismissively. But there was no tension in her voice, only confidence, like she knew I wouldn't push further. And for a while, I didn't. Because love makes you second-guess your instincts. It convinces you that doubt means disloyalty. I didn't want to be the jealous boyfriend who checked phones and followed cars. I wanted to believe in her, but the small inconsistencies piled up. One night she said she was having dinner with her co-workers, but when I called the restaurant, they said no such reservation existed. Another time, she claimed she was too tired to go out, yet her location tag on an old photo popped up downtown, near a bar we'd never been to. The worst part was how she used my trust against me. When I asked why her phone always seemed off, she rolled her eyes. "You seriously don't trust me? It's a broken phone, Jake. I told you I'm getting it fixed." Then she'd storm out, leaving me feeling guilty for even asking. But guilt can't drown suspicion forever. One evening, I borrowed her car to grab groceries. When I turned on the Bluetooth, her phone automatically connected. Not her old phone, but one with a new name, Emily's iPhone 14. My chest tightened. The one I bought her was an iPhone 13. I checked the settings. It had been recently paired. That night, I looked at her differently. Every laugh, every hug, every kiss felt rehearsed. I started noticing how she'd smile at her screen before locking it quickly, how she'd slip into the hallway for calls from clients, and how she'd always return smelling faintly of men's cologne. One I didn't own. I knew something big was coming. I just didn't know how I'd find it, or how much it would destroy me when I did. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. It was supposed to be a simple surprise. Dinner at her favorite place after work. I'd spent the day thinking about how distant she'd been, convincing myself a small gesture could fix everything. I even picked up flowers, hoping she'd smile like she used to. But when I pulled into the company parking lot, her car wasn't there. The building lights were off. Everyone was gone. I sat there for a moment, confused. Maybe she left early? I was about to call when I noticed something. A familiar blue car parked at the far end of the lot. It belonged to one of her co-workers, a guy named Ryan. He'd been at her office parties before. Funny, loud, a bit too friendly with her. I never thought much of it. Until that night. As I drove past his car, something caught my eye, a glow from the front seat. I slowed down, my stomach tightening. There, lying face up on the console, was a phone, her phone, or at least the same model, the same case, even the same small crack near the corner. My chest went tight. I parked 2 spaces away, heart pounding. I stepped out quietly, trying to steady my breathing. The closer I got, the worse the feeling grew. I looked through the window, and that's when everything inside me stopped. On the phone's lock screen was her face, smiling, but not the picture I'd taken. This one was new. She was in the passenger seat, leaning against Ryan, her hand on his chest. The timestamp said 2 days ago. My hands trembled. I stared at that photo for what felt like forever. The same woman who said her phone was broken had a brand new one, hidden in another man's car. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from her. "Working late. Don't wait up." I almost laughed. A hollow, broken sound that didn't feel like me. I took a picture of the screen through the window. Proof, not just for her lies, but for myself. Because part of me still wanted to believe I was wrong. But you can't argue with a reflection that looks exactly like the truth. I left the parking lot slowly, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The flowers sat in the passenger seat, untouched, mocking me with their quiet beauty. The storm that had been brewing inside me for weeks finally broke, not with rage, but with silence. That night, I didn't call her. I didn't confront her. I just drove home, staring at the empty space beside me. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize anymore. And for the first time, I didn't want answers. I wanted revenge. The next morning, I woke up numb, not angry, not sad, just hollow. The image of her smiling in another man's car burned behind my eyes. I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unfeel it. I needed the truth, all of it, no matter how much it tore me apart. I started small. I checked her social media, scrolling through old posts, comments, and photos. There were small hints I'd missed. Heart emojis from Ryan, jokes that now felt too familiar, tags she had forgotten to show me. The signs had been everywhere, and I'd been too blind to see them. Then I went further. I logged into our shared phone plan, something she'd probably forgotten I could do. My heart dropped when I saw it. 2 numbers on her record, one labeled unknown, contacted almost every day at odd hours. The unknown number matched the one registered to a new iPhone, a separate line I'd never seen before. I knew what that meant. The broken phone had been her excuse to hide another, the one she kept just for him. That night, I played along. She came home smiling, acting normal. "Long day?" I asked. She nodded, kicking off her shoes. "Yeah, I'm exhausted. You have no idea how crazy work has been." I looked straight into her eyes and said, "I do, actually." She froze, sensing something off, but tried to laugh it away. When she went to shower, I checked her purse. No phone, just the broken one. Perfectly fine, powered on and full of recent photos. But none of me, none of us, just her, smiling, posing, wearing a necklace I hadn't given her. I scrolled until I found it, a mirror selfie of her wearing Ryan's hoodie, sitting in his car. My stomach twisted, but I didn't cry this time. I just saved everything. Screenshots, messages, timestamps. Every lie she'd told now had a digital shadow. When she came out of the bathroom, a towel wrapped around her, she smiled. "What?" she asked, seeing my face. I shook my head slowly. "Just thinking," I said, "about how easily people lie when they think they're smarter than life." She laughed softly, not realizing those words were her warning. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk, printing everything, photos, messages, call logs, and slid them into an envelope. I wasn't going to explode or scream. No. My revenge would be precise, quiet, and impossible to ignore. She thought I didn't know. She thought she was clever. But I was done being her fool. The truth wasn't hidden anymore. It was loaded, waiting. And soon, she'd see what silence can do when it decides to fight back. I smiled every morning like nothing had broken between us inside. I practiced ordinary routines to hide the storm gathering in my chest. I made coffee, fixed the leaky sink, and mowed the lawn calmly. Neighbors waved. Emily waved back, unaware of the paper in my pocket. Patience became my armor. Silence turned into a carefully sharpened tool. I reviewed screenshots again, ensuring timestamps matched every suspicious message. Each photo, each call log sat organized in folders on my laptop. I printed copies and placed them into envelopes labeled with careful precision. One envelope was for her mother, another for her closest office friend. The third envelope contained proof for her manager at the design firm. I did not act on impulse. I planned each step like surgery. Revenge that burns is different from revenge that restores self-respect. My plan was quiet, exact, and aimed to remove her safety net. I texted Olivia, a mutual friend, asking for a discreet meeting. She arrived with tired eyes and offered me a small, understanding smile. We compared notes, consolidating everything she'd already seen and what I found. Her sorrow matched my resolve. But our purpose stayed purely practical. We decided truth would be shared with those who mattered most first. Exposing lies to family and workplace would strip her of convenient excuses. I drafted messages carefully, avoiding cruelty but refusing to sugarcoat facts. Each email contained screenshots, timestamps, and brief, factual explanations attached. I saved drafts, read them aloud, then closed the laptop to breathe. Outside, life continued. Kids played, couples walked dogs, the world moved. Inside, a different kind of motion had begun. Consequences were assembling quietly. I transferred a small amount from our joint account into my private savings, not for spite, but to secure the life I intended to build myself. I sold small things online, not because I needed money, but to move forward. I practiced not answering her calls, letting her messages sit unread, unanswered. That silence was deliberate, a signal that things could not return as before. I prepared for her confrontation, rehearsing calm words I might calmly say. I also arranged for witnesses to be present when truths were delivered. Her mother received an envelope with a short note explaining everything inside. Her manager received a private email with evidence attached and a brief summary. I informed one mutual friend to be ready if the fallout needed moderation. Each action felt heavy but necessary to cut the parasitic ties loose. I reminded myself revenge was not about humiliation, but restoration of dignity. Nights were hardest. Insomnia met me like a quiet, patient companion. I used those hours to think, not to plot cruel theatrics or public shame. My goal was to reclaim my life, not to destroy a person who lied. When the day came, I would stand calm, factual, and unshaken by tears. Until then, I lived normal days and tucked my evidence into a safe. I watched her laugh at something on television, feeling nothing but distance. That distance was my new safety, my shield from repeating old mistakes. I slept less and breathed more slowly, letting patience reshape my reaction. In the stillness, I understood the power of measured truth over loud anger. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The morning everything unraveled started quietly, like the calm before a storm. Emily was still asleep when her phone buzzed on the nightstand, the old one that was supposedly broken. She didn't even flinch, but I did. I reached over, picked it up, and read the preview. What are we going to do now? It was from Ryan. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The plan was already in motion. The envelopes I had prepared were gone, delivered the night before. Her mother had one, her boss had another, and one was waiting on her desk at work. Inside each was the truth, printed in black and white. I didn't add explanations or anger, just facts. Facts never need emotion. At exactly 9 a.m., the first message came through. Her boss. Emily, we need to talk about these photos and messages immediately. I was sitting on the porch, coffee in hand, when she burst outside, her face pale, her voice shaking. Jake, what did you do? She demanded. I didn't answer. I just looked at her, calm and silent. Her phone started ringing nonstop. Her mother, her co-workers, friends, each one learning who she really was. The woman who betrayed a man, who gave up everything for her. You ruined me, she screamed, tears streaming down her face. I stood up slowly and said, No, Emily, you ruined us. I just stopped covering for it. She tried to grab my arm, begging, promising it meant nothing, swearing she made a mistake. But a mistake doesn't have call logs, photos, and lies spread over months. I was lonely, she said softly, her voice breaking. You were always working. That line, the one every cheater hides behind, finally made me laugh. I was working, I said, to build a life for both of us. By noon, she was gone, packed her things in silence, sobbing into her sleeves. I didn't stop her. I didn't yell or throw anything. I simply watched her leave, knowing she was walking away from the only man who ever truly believed in her. She paused at the door, whispering, You'll regret this. I shook my head. No, Emily, for once I won't. That night, I sat in the same house she once filled with lies and noise. It was quiet now, painfully quiet, but clean. For the first time in months, I felt peace. The truth had finally done its job. I didn't have to destroy her life. She'd already done that herself. Sometimes, revenge doesn't look like shouting. It looks like walking away and letting reality do the rest. And as I lay in bed that night, I realized something profound. The sound of a liar's downfall is silence, and I could finally sleep through it. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The next morning, the house felt different, lighter somehow. The air no longer carried her perfume, no longer smelled of deceit. I walked through each room slowly, the silence comforting, almost sacred. It wasn't the silence of loneliness anymore. It was the silence of freedom. I sat at the kitchen table where we'd once shared coffee and laughter, tracing the faint ring her mug had left on the wood. For the first time, that mark didn't sting. It didn't remind me of what I'd lost, only what I'd survived. Days turned into weeks. Emily tried calling a few times, leaving voicemails that shifted from anger to guilt to desperation. I didn't listen to most of them. When I finally did, I heard her say, Jake, I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. That's what they all say when the game ends and the spotlight fades. But I'd learned that forgiveness isn't the same as weakness. I forgave her, not for her, but for me. I used the settlement from our shared account to start over. I opened my own auto repair shop, something I'd dreamed of for years, but never had the courage to do. Business grew fast, not because of luck, but because I poured all my pain into something productive. Every car I fixed, every customer I helped reminded me that I could rebuild anything, even myself. Friends who once pitied me started calling me strong. But strength isn't born from anger or revenge. It's born from surviving what was meant to break you. I learned that healing isn't loud. It's quiet. It's choosing peace over chaos, patience over revenge, and walking away when you finally realize you don't need closure to move on. Months later, I saw Emily again. Accident. She was at a cafe, alone, her eyes hollow, her smile faint. She looked up, saw me, and froze. I nodded politely, then walked past her without a word. That silence, that one simple moment, was my closure. I didn't need to explain, didn't need to remind her of what she'd lost. She already knew. That night, I took my new motorcycle out on the open road, the wind hitting my face like a promise of everything still ahead. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't chasing anyone, fixing anyone, or proving anything. I was just living. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes the best revenge isn't payback. It's peace. This is how my girlfriend betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story reminded you that strength comes from letting go, hit like, share it with someone who needs this lesson, and subscribe for more real stories that prove healing is the ultimate revenge.